Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inspiration can come from anywhere. Allah is everywhere. So this morning, I took a look at the comics from the Sunday paper, and Garfield, who was a rather obnoxious cat, was doing all of his obnoxious things, throwing food around, kicking dogs, and he said at the end, "New year, same old me." In a few words, he caught the dilemma that we all face. We are who we are, and we are in the midst of trying to find out who that really is, and finding out how it is that we can get to the essence of what that really is. Yesterday, somebody was saying, I'm trying to figure out what kind of New Year's resolutions to make, but it really doesn't matter because I don't keep them anyway. And there we are. We're in the midst of a constant resurgence of who we are. It doesn't take any specific arbitrary day on the calendar to start a new year. We can start a new year any day. We can start over every day. We are given an opportunity every second to begin again and to do it right this time. God is merciful in that He gives us time. Until our last breath, we can turn to Him. Until our last breath, we can ask for forgiveness, and He will forgive us. We need to make the resolution and the intention in our own being to turn towards Him. And what does it mean to turn towards Him? What happens in turning towards Him? Well, in my experience, I have found that if you take the world seriously, the world will take you seriously, and you will become entangled in all of the difficulties that the world has to offer. Your mind will become entwined in illusion. All of a sudden, the small, temporary things of existence will become the most important things in your life. For instance, your job can become very important to you, and all of a sudden it becomes the most important thing in your life. Your schooling can become very important to you, and all of a sudden it becomes the most important thing in your life. Your parents and their ideas for you can become very important to you, and all of a sudden they become the most important things in your life. So, what happens when things become the most important things in your life? Well, in the world, you react to them. And if they go the way you want them to go, or the way you think they're supposed to go, then there's happiness. If they don't go the way you think they're supposed to go, then there's sadness. So, we're constantly in a state of happiness and sadness, dependent on how things turn out in accordance with our imagination as to how they should turn out. So, what causes our sadness? Our thoughts. What causes our problems? Our thoughts. We imagine things should be a certain way, and if they go that way, we're temporarily happy until we begin imagining about more things that should go in a certain way, and they don't. Then we become sad again. So we're on this roller coaster ride of apparent happiness and apparent sadness as to and in conjunction with our imagination and how things turn out in accordance with our imagination. Okay. Imagine not imagining. Imagine stopping to try and figure out what's going to happen next and how it should happen next. Imagine just allowing things to go on. Now, you can't do that with your mind because your mind is not free. And because it's not free, it will not set you free to go along with whatever happens and to be able to integrate your own self into whatever happens. What's the solution? Stop paying attention to your imagination. Stop paying attention to your mind. Stop thinking that what you are thinking is who you are. Begin to understand that what you are thinking is a tool to get things done in this world, but it's not a way to live your life. In other words, your mind can add. 1 and 1 is 2. 2 and 2 is 4. Your mind can figure out solutions to problems. How do I build this? Well, you take this stick and you put it that way, and you put the other stick on top of it. How do I drive a car? Well, you go forward. Your mind can learn how to do things in this world. But your mind cannot tell you who you are. Can you imagine talking to a hammer and asking a hammer, who am I? You'll get the same answer your mind gives you. The mind is capable of only going so far. And in the dilemma of figuring out who you are, it's only the third step. There's a fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh step that your mind can't be involved in. Intellect, which is your mind, can only go to the level of intellect. Allah is beyond intellect. Allah is beyond the mind. And as long as everything you consider and everything you try and understand is done through your mind, you are limited by the extent of where your mind can go. And your mind is tied to the nafsamara, the lower portion of the self. So the mind is influenced by, connected with, and is entirely acting as a proponent of your egocentric, individuated self. It can't go into the realm of the expanded self, the self that is contained in everyone else. It can't see the sameness when we look at each other. It only understands itself, and it's limited to itself. If the mind had true empathy, a true ability to feel other people, to feel the pain of other people, to feel the difficulty of other people, if it could do that, this world would be a different place. But it can't do that. So what happens is you have a lot of closed-off individuals thinking about themselves, acting as if they're inclusive towards other people, when in fact they're not. They're just trying to carry out their own idea of what other people need, and they don't know what other people need. When somebody comes along who is a friend of Allah's, a Kutub, a prophet, they're different than everyday people. And what makes them different? How are they different? Their hearts are open. Their hearts connect with everyone that they see. Their hearts feel everyone that they come in contact with. They're not closed. They're not hidden. They don't hide themselves. They don't consider themselves different than the rest of humanity. And they don't try to impose their will on the rest of humanity. What they do try to do is to explain to humanity what Allah wants from you, not what they want from you. Because a true man of Allah doesn't want anything from you. He doesn't need anything from you. He doesn't need you to listen to him or not to listen to him. He's like the rain. He falls. And if you want water, you put out a bucket. And if you don't put out a bucket, does the rain care? The rain continues to rain. The rain is a gift that is given by Allah. The question is, how do we use those gifts? And if we use those gifts correctly, what happens? What happens is that we become like the teachers. And our involvement with the world becomes less, and our empathy, our ability to feel other people, becomes more and more and more. So that when we meet somebody, when we talk to somebody, we become like them. We don't have to be separate from them. When we are interacting with somebody, we feel their difficulty and we feel their joy. And we are sad for their difficulty and we are happy for their joy. This is what true unconditional love is like. And this is what an open heart is like. We're all tied to our own needs in a very, very difficult way. We're all involved in being knotted to ourselves and our needs, as if we've spent years tying knots that hold us in place. And how do you get rid of these knots? Well, you know how long it took you to tie them? Well, you can't untie them all. There's too many. So you know the story of Alexander and the Gordian knot? When he came to this place where this rope was tied, and they said the great puzzle was to untie the knot, and he took his sword out and just cut it. Well, this is what we need to do. We need to cut our connection to all of the knots that we've tied. We need to learn to cut our connections. To what? To almost everything. We should be in a place where our only connection is to Allah, and that with things that we do are because He does them through us. So we need to set an intention that our will is lost and His will is what comes through us. And one of the important things that you should know about His will is there is no self-motive. There just is. And what is there? Rahman, Rahim, Shakur, Kabir, Latif. Those are the things that are there. And they are reality. They are haq. So we have to become reality. We have to become haq. And what is the path towards haq? Rahman, Rahim, Shakur, Latif. This is the path towards reality. And if we can truly become merciful, if we can truly become compassionate, there is no self-motive in these things. And when we give up self-motive, all of these knots that we've tied melt by themselves. They disappear by themselves. They become undone by themselves. Because what holds all the knots together? That which separates ourselves from other people. As long as we can end the separation from other people, we can become free. But if we still have all of these knots, we can't become free. And what are some of these knots? Religion, religious fanaticism, thinking our religion is better than other people's religion, thinking that somehow we are chosen and other people are not chosen, thinking that somehow our way is the only way and it's up to us to bring everybody else into our way. I asked my teacher in the beginning, is there a chosen people? This is around 1973 when I first met him. And he said to me, yes, there is a chosen people. The ones who choose Allah, Allah chooses them back. What's that mean? It means that no matter what religion you call yourself, it doesn't mean anything. What has meaning is what is your heart's connection to Allah? What is your true intention to Allah? It has nothing to do with how you were born, what religion you were born into. It has to do with who you are. The Prophet said, peace and blessings be upon him, to his daughter Fatima, that on the day of Qiyamah, it's not going to matter that you are the daughter of the Prophet. Can you understand that? It's not going to matter on the day of judgment that you are the daughter of the Prophet. It has to do with who you are. And as long as you are not Rahman, you're in difficulty. As long as you are not Rahim, you're in difficulty. If you are compassion and mercy, your difficulty goes away. And what is your difficulty? Everything that's in you that separates you from God. Everything that's in you that separates you from other people. Our teacher said, that which separates me from you separates me from Allah. Who am I to separate myself from other people as if God did not create them? Which one of us was not created by Allah? In the world, which people were not created by Allah? Yet, every religion seems to act as if all of the other religions weren't created by Allah. They somehow came into being by themselves. We need to be open to understanding that as many hearts as there are that many ways to God. And we need to allow that freedom to exist that allows all of these separate ways to go directly to Allah. Who are we to interfere in hearts trying to make a connection with God? What is the arrogance that allows us to think that? Well, one of the answers is that when people are born into a religion, they fall in love with that religion, and they get a certain pride in that religion, and because of that, they think they have to protect that religion. So all of a sudden, man is protecting Allah. Man is protecting Allah's way. Does Allah need our protection, or do we need Allah's protection? There's a kind of ignorance that comes over man where he begins to think that he needs to protect God, and that in so doing, he is doing God's will. I'm doing God's will because I'm killing all the people who don't believe in my religion. People think that way. And right now, in the world, unfortunately, it seems to be a common way of thinking. We at least need to know the truth, that this is one of the great lies that Satan has perpetrated on mankind. Satan now can wear the robes of a religious person, and he gets into the religion and begins to tell people, this religion's very good, this religion's perfect, we must kill everybody else who doesn't believe this way. And he is able to do his work in that way. We need to understand that Satan is very good at hiding, and Satan is very good at spreading lies and making you believe things